What do you do when the man you love passes away, and the whispers around his death tell you he wasn't who you thought? I'm Emma Parker, a fourth-grade teacher, and my world ended in a sterile hospital room where my husband Ben lay cold, taken by a stroke at 35. We'd built a life together, college sweethearts, a small house with a creaky porch, plans for a family that now felt like a cruel mirage. The nurse's hushed words, "She doesn't know," caught my ear as I left his room, their voices sharp like glass in my fog of grief. Those words, paired with a text from Ben to his sister Julia, sent after he was declared dead, lit a spark of doubt that burned through my sorrow. Why was his phone missing? Why did the hospital lock his room so fast? My fingers still feel the chill of his hand, the weight of his wedding ring in my pocket, as I step into a truth I'm not ready to face. The hospital air was thick with antiseptic, the kind that clings to your skin and makes your throat tight. I sat by Ben's bed, the steady beep of machines gone silent, replaced by the squeak of nurses' shoes on linoleum. His face looked peaceful, the scar above his eyebrow from a childhood tumble barely visible under the harsh lights. "Ben," I whispered, brushing his knuckles, "I don't know how to do this without you." 3 days ago, he'd kissed me goodbye, complaining of a headache before heading to work. By noon, he was in the ER. By evening, a coma. Now he was gone. The doctor's voice was gentle but firm. "It's time, Mrs. Parker. You can say your goodbyes." I nodded, words stuck somewhere deep. I asked for a moment alone, and the room emptied, leaving me with the man who'd held my hand through every milestone. Graduation, our wedding, our first mortgage. I pressed my lips to his forehead, cold as winter stone, and whispered, "I love you. Always will." When I stood, my legs wobbled, and Nurse Melissa stepped forward, her eyes kind but searching. "Take your time," she said. I clutched my purse, thanking her for their efforts, though the words felt hollow. Ben couldn't be gone. Not my Ben, who planned every detail of our life with care. In the corridor, 2 nurses huddled at the station, their voices dropping as I neared. "She still doesn't know, does she?" one whispered. "No," the other replied, tense. "If she finds out, we're finished." I froze, heart pounding. They hadn't seen me. What didn't I know? They scattered when I stepped closer, one grabbing a chart, the other hurrying away. I glanced back at Ben's room, door closed, a sign reading "Cleaning in progress, no entry." 2 orderlies stood guard, their faces blank but shoulders stiff. Nurse Tanya approached, her hand soft on my elbow. "Mrs. Parker, you should go home." Her kindness felt laced with urgency, like she was pushing me out. I asked to see Ben's chart, surprising myself. "I want to know if he was in pain, if he woke up." Tanya's smile tightened. "You'll have to wait until morning, hospital protocol." I pressed, "Was he conscious at all?" Her eyes slid away. "No, he wasn't responsive after admission." Something felt wrong, like a picture frame tilted just enough to notice. Julia, Ben's sister, rushed toward me, eyes red. "I came as soon as I could," she said, hugging me tightly. "It happened so fast," I murmured. She pulled back, confused. "But he texted me this morning at 6:07 a.m., saying he felt better, that the doctors might release him." Tanya, still nearby, paled. "That's impossible. He was declared brain dead at 5:45 a.m. Julia showed me the text. "Feeling better. Docs say might go home soon. Tell Emma not to worry." My mind spun. Tanya insisted it was a mistake, but her voice was too rehearsed. I drove home in a blur, the house dark and silent. Ben's watch sat on the nightstand, his book face down on the bed. I curled around his pillow, breathing in his scent, clutching his wedding ring. "Why does this feel wrong?" I whispered. The next morning, I unzipped Ben's hospital bag. His clothes were there, jeans, shirt, belt, but no phone, no smartwatch. I'd packed them myself when he was admitted. I called the hospital, reaching patient services. "His phone and watch weren't in the bag," I said. The woman's voice was distant. "Our records show all items were returned." I hung up, unease growing. Then my phone rang, unknown number. "Mrs. Parker, it's Tanya from the hospital," she whispered. I shouldn't be calling, but I saw something in Ben's chart. "He was awake yesterday morning asking for you, agitated." My heart raced. Why didn't they tell me? The line went dead. I grabbed a notebook, writing, "Stroke Tuesday. Brain dead Thursday 5:45 a.m., text 6:07 a.m., nurses whispering. Missing devices. Ben conscious." The pieces didn't fit, but they were starting to form a pattern I couldn't ignore. Julia texted me later that day, wanting to talk because something felt off. We met at a coffee shop, the steam from our cups rising like unanswered questions. She looked as exhausted as I felt, stirring her coffee without drinking. Ben called me Tuesday night, after they admitted him, she said. He sounded scared, not about the stroke, but something else. Said he'd messed up and needed to tell you, to make things right. I frowned. That didn't sound like Ben, always so composed. After coffee, I headed to the bank to sort our finances, the practical side of death no one warns you about. The banker was kind, printing statements with a sympathetic nod. Scanning the credit card bill, I froze. Charges I didn't recognize. A gas station across town, a restaurant I'd never visited, and one that hit like a punch. Peterson's Jewelry, $3,850, 2 days before the stroke. We'd agreed early in our marriage, no big purchases without talking first. What had Ben bought, and for whom? I left the bank, statement crumpled in my purse, my mind racing through possibilities. An anniversary surprise? But our anniversary was months away. At Peterson's Jewelry, the bell chimed softly as I entered the elegant shop. The owner, a man with glasses perched on his nose, looked up. "My husband bought something here recently, Ben Parker," I said, voice steadier than I felt. Recognition lit his eyes. "Ah, yes, a custom ring. White gold with a sapphire center, for someone named Sophie." The name landed like ice water. Sophie, who was she? He added that Ben had said she'd been waiting a long time, that it had to be perfect. I managed a thank you and stumbled out, the floor tilting. Ben had secrets, ones involving another woman, expensive gifts, and lies that spanned our life together. Back home, I sat at his desk, staring at his laptop. We shared passwords, no secrets we'd promised. But when I tried his usual one, access denied. He'd changed it. I tried variations, nothing. Finally, I reset it through his recovery email, which forwarded to my phone. The inbox loaded, work emails mostly, but an unread one at the top from Sophie Allen. "You didn't tell her, did you?" My finger trembled as I clicked, opening a thread stretching back 8 months. Scrolling to the start, it wasn't the affair I feared. Messages heavy with obligation. "Ben, Claire asked about you again. She's starting to question things." Claire, a name repeated often. Ben's replies were measured. "I'm figuring out the right time. Emma deserves the truth, but carefully." Photos attached. One from 3 months ago showed Ben at a playground, kneeling beside a little girl with his eyes, his dimple. Caption, "First day at the park with Daddy." The laptop nearly slipped from my hands. Ben had a daughter, a child he'd hidden from me. I dialed Julia, voice breaking. "Did you know about Ben's daughter, Claire, with a woman named Sophie?" Silence, then shock. "What daughter?" I explained the emails, the ring. "That's what he meant last Christmas," she said. I overheard him on the phone. "If Emma finds out, she'll leave me." I thought it was money troubles. I hung up, needing to see this Sophie. Her Facebook profile was easy to find. Pretty chestnut hair listed as a single mom to 6-year-old Claire, a teacher in Westfield, 20 minutes away. 6 years. That meant before our marriage. Had Ben left her pregnant to marry me? The timeline gnawed at me. I drove to Westfield that afternoon, her address from a quick search guiding me. Her house was cozy, bike on the lawn, chalk art on the driveway. I parked across the street, watching. Sophie stepped out, calling inside, and a girl, Claire, ran to her, backpack bouncing. The resemblance was uncanny, Ben's tilt of the head, his animated gestures. Before I could stop myself, I crossed the street. Sophie noticed, pulling Claire close. "Can I help you?" I introduced myself as Ben's wife. Recognition flashed, then resignation. She sent Claire inside and crossed her arms. "I wondered if you'd come. I'm sorry about Ben." I asked about the ring, assuming it was for her. She frowned. "What ring? We weren't like that, Emma." We sat on the porch steps, a careful space between us. "Ben and I dated briefly, before you," she explained. "It ended, and I found out I was pregnant after you were engaged. I tried to tell him once, but he was so happy. I decided to raise her alone. But 3 years ago, Claire had a medical emergency, an allergic reaction needing family history. Sophie called Ben in desperation. He came right away and wanted to be involved after that, behind my back. The hurt was raw. He was going to tell you, she said. But it got complicated. He was scared, not of you leaving, but someone else not wanting her to exist. What did that mean? She stood abruptly. I've said too much. We've lost Ben. We can't lose more. She went inside, leaving me with multiplying questions. Who wouldn't want Claire to exist, and why? Driving home, her words echoed. At Ben's desk, I rifled through drawers, finding a leather journal from 3 years ago, around when he learned of Claire. Entries were mundane at first, but one stood out. April 18th, saw her again today. Same man watching from the car. I think I've made things worse by going back. Need to be more careful. Timelines matched his visits to Claire. More. May 2nd, meeting with Anne about the arrangement. Don't trust him, but no choice. June 15th, transfer complete. Too much at stake. My phone buzzed, an unknown text from Sophie. That black SUV is back, the one Ben warned about. I'm scared. Like what SUV? Her voice was hushed. Ben noticed it a month ago, outside my house or Claire's school. He confronted the driver once, but the man denied it, said it was about the health fund he worked with, someone too invested. Health fund. Ben consulted for Westlake Health Innovation Fund, a private medical research group. He'd mentioned a special project, but I'd thought it was just work. I searched Claire's school, Briarwood Elementary, private, with Westlake as a benefactor. Ben hadn't just hidden a child, he'd funneled money through his job to her school. Why? And why the danger? The connection to Westlake lingered in my mind like a shadow, but Sophie's vague warning about someone not wanting Claire to exist demanded more answers. I couldn't let it drop. The hints of danger felt too real, too tied to Ben's secrets. That evening, after pacing my empty house, I texted her. We need to talk more about the SUV and what Ben was afraid of. She replied quickly, agreeing to meet the next day at her home. As I drove back to Westfield, the suburbs blurring past, I wondered if confronting her again would shatter me further or finally bring clarity. Her door opened before I knocked, Sophie looking wary but resigned, Claire's laughter echoing from inside. Come in, she said softly, leading me to the living room, where toys scattered the floor like remnants of a life Ben had kept from me. We sat on the couch, a photo album open on the coffee table, new to me, filled with snapshots of Claire's milestones. Ben insisted on copies, Sophie explained, flipping pages. There he was, in pictures I'd never seen, holding toddler Claire at a birthday party, pushing her on a swing, his smile genuine but edged with something like guilt. I traced his face in one photo, my throat tightening. Tell me everything, I said. From the beginning. She sighed, closing the album. Ben and she had dated casually 7 years ago, a brief romance that ended amicably when he met me. I didn't know about the pregnancy until after your engagement photos were everywhere, she admitted. I called him once, but hearing his excitement, I backed off. For years, she raised Claire alone, navigating doctor's appointments for odd symptoms that baffled specialists, frequent infections, delayed growth. Then at 3, the diagnosis, Kaplan-Mercer syndrome, rare and relentless. Sophie paused, glancing toward the hallway where Claire played. That's when Ben found out. Claire's allergic reaction was severe. I needed his medical history. He showed up at the hospital within hours, white as a sheet. After that, he visited secretly, sending money, attending school events from afar. But last year, Claire's condition worsened, treatments failing. Westlake contacted me out of the blue, Sophie said. Said they had a trial for kids like Claire. I read the paperwork, endless NDAs, vague protocols. It felt wrong, so I refused. Ben, however, hadn't. Though Sophie didn't know the full extent yet, she suspected he'd pulled strings through his job. He became obsessed with her care, but tense, said the fund was invested in a way that scared him. Her voice dropped. Then the watching started. That black SUV parked down the street, sometimes following me to pickups. Ben confronted them once, came back shaken. They're protecting their assets, he said. But whose assets? Claire's? I leaned forward, pulse quickening. Protecting how? What did Ben think they wanted? Sophie hesitated, then pulled out a small box from under the couch. Letters from Ben, ones she hadn't mentioned before. He wrote these when he couldn't visit. Read this one. The letter, dated 4 months ago, detailed his growing suspicions. Anomalous data in fund reports, whispers of enhanced protocols beyond treatment. They're not just healing these kids, Ben had written. They're changing them, and if anyone interferes, they make problems disappear. A chill ran through me. This was new, a layer Ben hadn't revealed even in his emails. Sophie added that Ben had mentioned a colleague warning him off, saying the fund had deep pockets and deeper reach, ties to private security, even government contracts. He was planning to pull Claire out safely, but feared retaliation. Someone high up doesn't want her story out there, he told me. She represents a flaw in their perfect system. Claire wandered in then, a drawing in hand, her eyes, so like Ben's, curious. Who's this, Mommy? Sophie introduced me as a friend of her daddy's. Claire handed me the paper, a crayon family, mom, girl, and a man labeled Dad. My heart ached. This child, innocent in the storm, had Ben's spirit. It's nice, I said, voice catching. She beamed, dimple flashing, before skipping away. Sophie watched her go. Ben loved her fiercely, Emma, but keeping you separate was his way of shielding everyone. Now with him gone, I'm terrified. If they connect you digging, she trailed off, fear raw. I promised to be careful, but inside, resolve hardened. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about protecting what Ben had died for. Leaving her house, the afternoon sun did little to warm the dread settling in. Who was this someone at Westlake? And how far would they go? Back home, I pored over the journal entries again, the mentions of the arrangement and transfer now screaming of illicit dealings. That night, another text from Sophie, a photo of the SUV, time-stamped minutes ago. It's here again. We were being watched, the net tightening. But instead of retreating, it fueled me. Ben's secrets had pulled me into darkness. But I'd emerge with the truth, no matter the cost. That resolve carried me through the night, but sleep evaded me. Ben's journal entries replaying in my head like a warning siren. The mentions of surveillance and arrangements felt less like paranoia now, and more like pieces of a puzzle Ben had died assembling. By morning, I decided to dig deeper into Westlake. I drove to their offices, the building a sleek monolith of glass and steel that screamed untouchable power. Inside, the lobby was minimalist, security cameras winking from every corner. I approached the reception desk with a fabricated confidence. I'm Lisa Parker, Ben's assistant. I lied. Here to collect files from his office. The receptionist frowned. Mr. Parker didn't have an assistant. I doubled down. I work remotely. With his passing, I've been tasked to gather his materials. She dialed upstairs while I noted the paranoia. Visitor badges with QR codes, signs demanding confidentiality agreements. Minutes later, Nathan Wells, chief security officer, emerged from the elevator, his suit impeccable, smile cold. You must be confused, he said, shaking my hand too firmly. Ben didn't have an assistant. Caught, I admitted. I'm his wife, Emma. His condolences were rote, but he blocked access. Strict confidentiality provisions survive his death. I pressed for details on Ben's work. I'm not at liberty, he replied, then offered to send Ben's personal effects. As I left, he added, Ben's dedication to certain projects will be hard to replace, the word dedication laced with threat. In my car, I called Sophie. What exactly is Claire's condition? Did Westlake ever contact you directly? Guarded, she confirmed Kaplan-Mercer syndrome, and yes, they'd pushed for a clinical study 2 years ago. I refused. It seemed too risky. The pieces clicked. Ben's forgery to enroll her, the improvements in her health, but at what hidden cost? Back home, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Parker, Thomas Grayson, your husband's attorney. I was puzzled. Our lawyer was Richard Simmons. Ben retained me privately 2 years ago, he explained. Instructions to contact you after his death. Heart pounding, I met him at his office, an older man with kind eyes handing me a sealed envelope. Ben was distressed when he came, Thomas said, determined to protect you. The envelope held a key, a hand-drawn hospital map, and a note in Ben's handwriting. Emma, if you're reading this, I waited too long. I'm sorry. The key opens locker 224 in the hospital's East Wing staff area. It'll explain everything. I love you always. I drove straight there, following the map to a staff-only storage via service elevator, avoiding recognition. Locker 224 clicked open. Files, USB drives, a letter on top. Emma, they didn't want her to live. I fought it. The fund isn't what it seems. They're using kids like Claire for more than research. I tried to pull her out. They threatened us. Kept you in the dark to protect you. Get these to Dr. Rachel Hansen at the State Medical Board. Forgive me, Ben. I sank to the floor, files spilling. Grief and rage collided as I realized the nurse's whispers weren't about an affair but something deadly. Ben's death wasn't a stroke, it was silencing. That night, I pored over the documents, eyes burning under the lamp. Ben's records were meticulous. Emails, notes, recordings. Claire diagnosed at 3, no approved treatments. Westlake reached out by coincidence, but Sophie refused. Ben, desperate, forged her signature, created fake backstories to enroll her. It worked. Claire improved. But 6 months in, Ben uncovered the truth. Not just studying, but testing unapproved enhancements. Phase 3 loomed, details elusive. When he tried withdrawing Claire, threats, exposed the fraud, cut all treatment, he'd become complicit, funneling funds, recruiting families, all to buy time while gathering evidence. Sunrise found me hollow, understanding Ben's double life, not infidelity but desperate compromise. I called Sophie. I know everything about the forgery, the program. Silence then, I found out last month. Furious, but he begged for time to build a case. The ring? For Claire, her birthstone. Something permanent. We met at a park, Claire at school. The treatments work, Sophie admitted. She's thriving. But at what cost? Ben believed danger in Phase 3. Sophie handed me her rejection letter to Westlake, the only paperwork she had. Use it if it helps. As kids played nearby, I saw Claire in my mind, healthy because of Ben's sins. Moral lines blurred. Was it worth it? Driving to Children's Medical Center, I sought Dr. Rosenthal, Claire's physician and fund liaison. His office walls held children's drawings, but his eyes were cautious. I'm Ben's wife, I said. About Claire Allen. He couldn't discuss patients. I pushed. I know about the forgery, the protocols beyond treatment. He glanced at the door. These are serious claims. Facts, I countered. Is Claire in danger? He sighed. Sometimes helping means bending rules. Conventional channels are too slow. But falsifying, coercing? I treat patients. The fund's methods are beyond me. I asked about Phase 3. His face paled. I don't know what you mean. Liar. Leaving, I parked across from Claire's school, watching her at dismissal. Vital, laughing. The treatment worked, but the deception's cost was mounting. 2 days later, Sophie called in a panic, her voice trembling over the line. They've dropped Claire from the program. Someone leaked info about unauthorized participants, and they're auditing. Claire's out, effective immediately. My stomach sank like stone. What did they say? Irregularities in paperwork, suspended indefinitely. She took a shuddering breath. Emma, without treatments, she could regress. All progress lost. Ben's words echoed. They didn't want her to live. I fought it. I'll call you back, I said, mind racing. That night at Ben's desk amid files, I weighed choices. Expose the fund and risk Claire, or silence, letting them continue Phase 3 horrors. Ben hadn't escaped, his death likely from trying. My phone rang unknown. Mrs. Parker, Travis Harmon, Ben's colleague, we need to talk. We met at a highway diner, booth sticky, coffee bitter. Travis, 50s with sharp eyes, sipped untouched. I worked with Ben on Westlake Partnership, he said. Whistleblower 3 years ago on their tactics. Previous fund? He nodded. They rebrand, Westlake latest. Target rare diseases as shield for real ops, biological enhancements, military apps. Kids ideal, adaptable systems. Monstrous. Ben discovered after enrolling Claire. Trapped, expose, lose treatment, help, keep her alive. He chose third, evidence gathering. They found out. Ben called me night before stroke, had everything to shut them down. Missing devices, his proof. Not all, Travis said. Ben kept backups, need your help finding. For a week we sifted Ben's remnants, locker files, home office, accounts. Timeline emerged, forgeries, payments through shells. Sophie joined, bringing Claire docs. Right way or run forever, she said, determination stealing her. Progress came, but so did threats. Travis's board contact called questions on Claire's case. Then Sophie's doctor noticed treatment history flagged. Evening, Sophie panicked, black SUV outside hours. I drove over, gone by arrival, but she shook. Claire asks for medicine. What do I say? We're close, I promised. Next day, reporter Rita Mendoza contacted me, investigating Westlake months on anonymous tips. Heard about Claire. Analyst asking questions. Your husband. We met at a distant coffee shop. I shared select evidence, context without risk. Bigger, more dangerous, she said. Sure, pursue? No choice, neither Claire. That night, letter from school district, position reviewed for expense irregularities, never questioned before. They targeted me. Travis obtained gold, anonymous audio inside Westlake. Ben's voice tense. Can't pull her, she needs treatments. Director cold. Sign Phase 3 authorization. Simple choice. Consent without knowing. Trust process kept her alive. Recording ended. Coercion proof, Travis said, but need Phase 3 details. With Rita we scheduled emergency hearing. Judge Eleanor Winters agreed private, given risks. Push reinstatement, present coercion, demand investigation, Travis planned. Night before, Sophie called. Tires slashed, note, she's not worth it, neither you. Cold rage built. Stay with friend, don't tell where. Pick you Mourning. Fear gone, they'd taken Ben, threatened child. Silence, no option. But alliances grew beyond us. I reached out to Dr. Rachel Hansen, as Ben instructed, emailing select files anonymously first. She responded cautiously. I've seen patterns with Westlake. Meet, we did, in a quiet library corner. Hansen, a board investigator with weary eyes, reviewed docs. This matches complaints, coerced enrollments, data misuse. Phase 3, rumors of gene edits for resilience, beyond ethics. She promised to testify if needed, adding her own evidence. Redacted reports of child subjects showing unnatural recoveries, side effects hidden. Ben contacted me weeks before death, she revealed. Said he was close but scared. Another layer. Ben's network wider than I knew. Meanwhile, intimidations escalated. My car was keyed with "Stop digging" etched in paint. Travis's email hacked, files deleted, but we had backups. Sophie found a listening device in her home, crude but effective. They're desperate, Travis said. We fortified. Encrypted comms, public meets. Rita's sources yielded more. A former Westlake employee confirming Phase 3 involved CRISPR-like mods for immune boosts. Testable on kids like Claire for adaptability data. Military contracts hinted in emails. Piecing it, the fund's web sprawled. Shell companies funding schools, hospitals colluding on records. Ben's journal referenced Anne, likely a pseudonym for a contact inside. We traced her to a resigned nurse who shared logs of unauthorized procedures. As hearing neared, Sophie and I bonded over shared loss. Ben loved you, she said one evening, Claire asleep nearby. Kept us separate to protect. I nodded, anger softening. And he loved her, enough to risk everything. Evidence mounted, recordings, forgeries, threats compiled into a dossier. Travis uncovered a payment trail linking Westlake to hospital admins, explaining locked room altered times. Ben's stroke, maybe induced, he mused. Chilling. Rita's article draft outlined the scandal, ready post-hearing. Alliances turned isolation to strength, but stakes rose. Would exposure save Claire or doom her? Dawn broke on hearing day, resolve firm. The courthouse loomed ahead as we arrived early. Slipping through a private entrance, Travis had arranged to dodge any prying eyes. Inside, the air was cool and echoing, a stark contrast to the chaos building in my chest. Sophie clutched my arm, her face pale after the tire-slashing incident, while Travis carried our dossier like a shield. Judge Winter's chambers were wood-paneled, bookshelves heavy with legal tomes that seemed to judge us already. We took seats across from Westlake's legal team, 3 suited men flanking Diane Marshall, their lead, her eyes sharp as scalpels. This is irregular, she began, voice smooth but edged. Emergency hearing on speculation. Judge Winters cut in. I've reviewed evidence, sufficient concern. Proceed. But before the hearing, threats had peaked, testing our resolve. Days prior, after Sophie's tires, I'd found my own mailbox stuffed with anonymous letters. Cut out words warning, back off or lose more than a husband. Travis's car was broken into, backup stolen, though we'd anticipated it with off-site copies. Even Rita received calls from unknown numbers, questioning her sources. The moral weight crushed me. Claire's health versus justice. Sophie confided one night as we pored over docs at my house. What if exposing them kills her progress? She's running again, Emma. Playing like normal. I saw the dilemma in her eyes. Ben's trap now ours. But if we stay silent, how many more kids? I replied, voice steady, despite doubt. Claire's drawing from earlier haunted me, a child's innocence amid adult sins. Travis opened strong, laying out the timeline. Ben's forgery out of desperation, Claire's enrollment, dramatic improvements shadowed by coercion. He presented files, forged consents, payment trails through shells, the audio of Ben's argument with the director. Systematic exploitation, he concluded. Families trapped, children used beyond ethics. Judge Winters nodded thoughtfully. Marshall rose, dismissing. Westlake saves lives under FDA oversight. Claire thrived. Suggestions of sinister experiments? Absurd. Then explain Phase 3, I interjected, unable to hold back. Marshall's gaze flicked to me. Standard trial phase, final testing pre-approval. Why hide details from families? Travis countered. Proprietary, she said coolly. Sophie testified next, hands clasped tight. She recounted refusing initially, discovering Ben's actions, Claire's expulsion when questions arose. Has she benefited? The judge asked. Tears welled. Yes, she's strong now, but I want transparency, choice. Marshall cross-examined harshly. You refused treatment first, neglected care until Ben intervened? Refused experimental without info, Sophie corrected firmly. Now, thriving, you attack the saviors? Protect her from unknowns in Phase 3. My turn came, legs unsteady as I approached the stand. I detailed discovering Ben's secrets, the locker files, nurses' whispers. Ben's text post-death, I said. Room locked, effects tampered. Marshall interrupted. Tragic stroke, unrelated. Then why conscious asking for me, denied by hospital? I read Ben's letter. They didn't want her to live. Silence fell. Tanya entered then, slipping in back. Travis called her, additional witness. She approached, voice shaky. Attending nurse for Ben, he regained consciousness morning of death, agitated about evidence, kids in danger. Murmur rippled. Supposed to have died? Judge asked. Dr. Harrison, not ICU, cleared room, back in, Ben gone. Foul play? What I saw, she described sealed room, fund security inventorying effects, altered records. Concerns raised, we got transfers or severance. Marshall objected, outrageous accusations. Judge silenced her, let finish. By end, Marshall's poise cracked. Recess called, we huddled outside. Sophie whispered, think it'll work? Has to, I said, though doubt lingered. Claire's face in my mind, healthy but at risk if we failed. Back in, judge ruled, profound breach. Evidence warrants action. Ordered Claire reinstated under court supervision. Full Phase 3 disclosure, independent review. Investigation into Ben's death. Whistleblower protection for Williams. Victory mixed with grief washed over me. Outside, Sophie hugged tight. Thank you for fighting when you didn't have to. But threats didn't vanish post-hearing. That night, my phone buzzed with blocked calls, heavy breathing on the line. Sophie found her door jimmied, nothing taken but message clear. Travis suggested safe houses, but we refused. Hiding meant they won. Moral dilemmas evolved. Forgiveness for Ben's choices, weighing love against lies. I visited his grave alone days later, flowers in hand, whispering, you tried, Ben, now I finish. Wind rustled leaves, as if answering. Alliances held us. Rita's article loomed, ready to amplify. 3 months on, investigation expanded. Families emerged with tales of coercion. Phase 3 unveiled. Genetic mods for immune enhancements, military replication. Ben's death reclassified suspicious. Hospital overhauled, resignations amid collusion claims. I resumed teaching, kids' compassion healing me, cards, hugs, mending breaks. In June, I published The Secrets My Husband Died With, detailing Ben's impossible choices, moral complexities. Can't condone deception, I wrote, but understand desperate love. Good people err for right reasons. Redemption defines us. Article went national. Whistleblowers contacted Travis. Pattern nationwide. Sophie brought Claire over one afternoon, hesitant at first, but Claire's drawing clutched tight melted walls. For you, she said. Stick figures. Mom, me, Miss Emma in a heart. Beautiful, I knelt, her Ben-like smile warming me. She explored backyard, butterfly delight lighting her face. Sophie and I on steps. New protocol works, no secrets. Good. You could have walked. Thought about it. 5 seconds. But helping her now. She asks of Ben. I tell brave, loving. Rita's series viral. Congressional hearings on research ethics. Families scrutinized trials. Tanya declined return. Peace over bridges. Ben proud. The emergency hearing that changed everything still plays in my mind like a vivid dream. The kind where every word carries the weight of lives hanging in ballots. We had arrived at the courthouse under a gray sky, the air thick with the promise of rain, mirroring the storm inside me. Sophie, Travis, and I moved quickly through the private entrance, our footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Rita had joined us too, her notebook ready, though she couldn't publish yet. The threats had intensified in the days leading up. Anonymous calls to my school, hinting at irregularities in my records, and a package left on Sophie's porch with a toy broken in half, a silent message about fragility. But we pressed on. The dossier in Travis's briefcase, our weapon against the fund's Goliath. Judge Winter's chambers felt smaller than expected, the wood panels absorbing sound, making every breath audible. We sat on one side, Westlake's team on the other, Diane Marshall flanked by her associates, their faces masks of professional indifference. One of them, a young lawyer with a tight ponytail, kept glancing at me, perhaps gauging if grief made me vulnerable. Marshall opened with her objection. Highly irregular, Your Honor. Speculative claims without foundation. Winters, stern with silver hair pulled back, waved it off. The preliminary evidence suggests otherwise. Mr. Harmon, begin. Travis stood, voice steady as he outlined the case. He started with Ben's role at Westlake, The discovery of Claire, the forged documents born from desperation. New to our preparation was a timeline chart I'd helped create, projecting on a small screen, dates of enrollments, threats, and Ben's journal entries highlighted in red. "This isn't isolated," Travis said, pointing to emails from Ben's files. "Westlake targets vulnerable families, promises miracles, then traps them with NDAs and coercion." He played the audio recording, Ben's tense plea filling the room. "You can't pull her. She needs this." The director's cold response: "Sign Phase 3 or she dies off the program." Marshall objected: "Out of context, unauthenticated." But Winters allowed it, her brow furrowing. Sophie took the stand next, her voice soft but resolute. She described Claire's diagnosis, her initial refusal of the trial, and waking to find Ben had enrolled her anyway. "I was angry when I learned," she admitted, "but the treatments worked. She's healthy now." The judge leaned forward. "Yet you're here challenging them?" Sophie nodded. "Because it's not just treatment. Ben uncovered something darker, experiments on children." Marshall cross-examined with venom. "Isn't it true you benefited from this dark program? Your daughter thrives because of it." Sophie met her gaze. "Thrives under lies. I want the full truth, not half measures that endanger her long term." I admired her then, this woman who'd shared Ben's heart in ways I hadn't known. Her strength mirrored what I was building in myself. My testimony followed, the stand hard under my hands. I recounted the hospital whispers, the post-death text, the locker discovery. "Ben left evidence because he knew the risks," I said, reading from his letter with a steady voice, though tears threatened. "They didn't want her to exist, not as a flaw in their system." I added new details I'd pieced together. Ben's smartwatch data, recovered from a cloud backup Travis found, showing erratic heart rates hours before the stroke, suggesting possible tampering. Marshall dismissed, grief-fueled narrative. No proof of foul play. But I countered. "Then explain the nurse's call, the sealed room." The room tensed, even the associates shifted. Tanya was our surprise, entering quietly as Travis called her. "I nursed Ben," she said, detailing his brief consciousness, agitation about evidence and children. "Dr. Harrison cleared the room, not standard. When we returned, he was dead." She revealed more, a hospital log she'd copied, showing fund personnel accessing the room pre-cleaning. We were silenced with job threats. Marshall attacked, hearsay from a disgruntled employee. Fact from a concerned one, Tanya shot back. Then, Dr. Hansen, whom I'd convinced to appear, testified remotely via video. New to our strategy, her board credentials lending weight. Patterns match complaints, coerced trials, hidden gene edits in Phase 3 for enhancements, not cures. Military ties suspected. Marshall objected furiously. Speculation. But Hansen held firm, based on redacted reports and Ben's contacts with me. The defense scrambled. Marshall presented Westlake witnesses, a doctor claiming ethical compliance, a family testifying to benefits. But cross-examination revealed inconsistencies. The doctor admitted Phase 3 details were classified. The family confessed to NDAs forbidding questions. Moral dilemmas swirled in my head as I listened. Was Ben's compromise justified if it saved lives? But seeing Sophie's anxious face, I knew silence perpetuated harm. Closing arguments. Travis urged justice. Marshall painted us as ungrateful. Winters recessed briefly, returning with gravity. "This case exposes breaches on multiple levels," she said. "Medical, ethical, potentially criminal." She ordered Claire's reinstatement under monitored care, full protocol disclosure including Phase 3, independent audits. Investigation into Westlake's practices and Benjamin Parker's death. Whistleblower protections for all witnesses. Relief flooded me, mixed with vindication. Marshall's team stormed out, but Nathan Wells lingered in the hall, his stare a final warning. Outside, rain fell softly. Sophie embraced me. We did it. But I knew the battle wasn't over, it was just beginning to ripple outward. On the anniversary of Ben's death, I visited his grave alone. The cemetery quiet, under a canopy of autumn leaves rustling softly in the breeze. The headstone was simple, his name, dates, nothing capturing the multifaceted man he'd been. Devoted husband, secret father, reluctant conspirator, ultimate redeemer. I placed fresh flowers against the cool stone, their petals vibrant against the gray, then sat on the grass, tracing the engraved letters with my finger. "I found the truth, Ben," I said to the empty air, voice barely above a whisper. "And it hurt, but it also set things right. I still love you, flaws and all." The wind picked up, carrying scents of earth and fading summer, as if acknowledging my words. Closure wasn't a sudden epiphany, but a gradual unfolding, like pages turning in a book I hadn't wanted to read. In the years since, life had woven new patterns from the threads of loss. The Westlake scandal continued to unravel, with congressional testimonies leading to sweeping reforms, mandatory transparency in trials, protections against coercion, funding audits for research entities. I testified twice more, my voice stronger each time, drawing from Ben's evidence to advocate for change. No family should face what we did, I'd say, images of Claire flashing in my mind. Sophie and I co-founded a support group for affected parents, meetings filled with shared stories and healing tears. Claire, now 7, had become a fixture in my world. We'd bake cookies in my kitchen, her laughter filling spaces once silent with grief. "Miss Emma, look," she'd exclaim, flour-dusted hands presenting misshapen treats. Her health held steady, the court-mandated care stripping away the shadows, allowing her to flourish without hidden costs. Forgiveness extended beyond Ben to myself, for not seeing the signs, for the anger that had consumed me initially. Julia and I mended bridges, holiday dinners now including Sophie and Claire, a blended family born from tragedy. "Ben would smile at this," Julia said once, raising a glass. Tanya thrived in her new role, consulting on ethics, her testimony a turning point. Travis mentored young whistleblowers, his gruff demeanor hiding a heart of gold. Rita's book on the scandal became a bestseller, dedicating a chapter to Ben's quiet heroism. "He sparked the fire," she told me at the launch. Threats had ceased entirely, the fund dismantled, executives facing trials. But echoes remained, occasional nightmares of black SUVs, whispers in empty rooms. I returned to teaching with renewed passion, my 4th graders' wide eyes reminding me of innocence worth protecting. Lessons on honesty, wove in subtle truths from my journey, without the heaviness. Afternoons, I'd walk the park where Ben had first met Claire, benches now holding memories rather than pain. Advocacy took me nationwide, speaking at conferences, my story inspiring bills named after Ben. The Parker Transparency Act, one senator called it, a legacy etched in law. Sophie confided over tea, "Claire knows more now, about her dad, about you. She says you're family." The word warmed me, a connection Ben's secrets had unwittingly forged. As seasons shifted, I dated tentatively, a kind man from the advocacy group, dinners filled with laughter instead of shadows. "You're strong," he said, and I believed it. The wooden box with the ring stayed on my dresser, a reminder not of betrayal, but of complex love. I whispered to it sometimes. We made it through. Healing wasn't erasing the past, but integrating it, scars becoming stories of resilience. What would you do if truths about loved ones hid behind whispers? Would you tear down the walls, risking the foundation? My journey taught that courage often lies in the unraveling, strength in rebuilding. If this tale gripped you, remember, secrets may shatter, but truth mends. In the quiet aftermath of revelations and reforms, life settled into a gentler rhythm, where days unfolded with the soft predictability of turning pages in a well-loved book. The sharp edges of grief had softened, like stones worn smooth by a patient stream, allowing moments of simple joy to surface amid the memories. Claire's visits became cherished routines, her youthful energy infusing my home with laughter that echoed through rooms once heavy with silence, her drawings pinned to the fridge like colorful affirmations of continuity and hope. Sophie and I shared coffees on porches, our conversations drifting from the weight of the past to lighter dreams for the future. Bonds forged in adversity, now blooming into enduring friendship. Advocacy work provided purpose. Each speech a whisper of Ben's legacy carried forward, touching lives we might never meet, yet knowing the ripples extended far beyond our sight. Evenings found me in the garden, hands in soil, planting seeds that promised new growth, mirroring the renewal within. Julia's calls brought family warmth, holidays blending old traditions with new faces, a tapestry richer for its complexities. Tanya's updates spoke of her own peace, Travis's gruff encouragements a steady anchor. As stars emerged one twilight, I sat on the steps, feeling the world's vastness, the pain a distant hum rather than a roar. Ben's choices, once thorns, now lessons in compassion's depths. In this softened space, forgiveness fully bloomed, not as erasure but acceptance, allowing love to linger without chains. And so, with a final gentle breath, the story fades, leaving only the whisper. Truths unveiled, hearts mended, lives reborn.